It's been quite some time since we've done a good workout, so I am going to get started. And basically, I'm going to go through just I'm all about short and sweet. It's so much easier to get into the habit and stick with those habits if it's not some big elaborate plan with a whole bunch of workouts and protocols and things. Words like diet and workout to me are just very mentally deflating. So I try to use them in other fashions and say things like spot treatments and nutrients and fuel for your body. So we're all very different. What we can physically do on the machine varies. I'm not a big fan of the labels that have been put upon you, whether you're dealing with lymphedema, lipedema, Durkheim's disease, diabetes, cancer. It's the symptoms that present themselves differently in each of your bodies. And food, environment, self-care is sometimes, contributing or, helping us fail in some of the goals we're trying to accomplish. So one of the big things we talk about here is feel good, but a lot of you think, I want to be stronger. I want to lose weight. I want to tone. I want to improve my skin tone, my stamina, my stability. So there's lots of ways a vibration machine can help you with that. Many things are really just a side benefit, things like balance, bone density, muscle strength. But how we apply ourselves and our effort is going to define the difference between some passive feel-good benefits and those hard fitness goals. So when we step into the realm, or if we're using the machine to even just enable us to do fitness, I want to keep it simple. Most of you are not going to the gym and working out on a regular basis, or I wouldn't have people on these calls. So I will ramble a little bit. I'm going to walk you through a couple of variations that can be performed daily. For those of you in the post-40 crowd like me, I suggest doing these exercises early in the day. It's going to help boost your metabolism, boost your energy, mental clarity, all kinds of things. But it's going to boost that metabolism in a fashion that it's going to kind of elevate it so that everything else that you're doing throughout the day is shaving a few more calories out of that bank than had you not done the exercises earlier in the day, or whenever is early in your day. I apologize if you're a night worker and your morning is midnight. So we're going to step over to the machine right now. Regardless of what you are using for a machine, we're going to be working out in oscillating mode today. I don't even think I have my switch on yet. Do I? Just a moment, please. Oh, there we go. It went to sleep. So today I'm using an oscillating movement. So depending on the plate that you're using, regardless of brand, oscillating is what moves us like this, like a teeter-totter from side to side. And I want your feet, if you're starting in a seated position, I want you on your stool with your feet about hip width apart. For the rest of us, we're going to be standing on the plate. I wonder if I'm cutting my own head off here today. Maybe there. So for those of us standing, same thing. I want your feet about hip width apart. I want your knees slightly bent, and we're just going to blow off a 30 to 1 minute warm up. We're going to get our machines going in manual mode, so it just starts moving on its own. And I want you bringing it up to a mid speed range. So, if you've got 60 speeds, be in the 20 to 40 range. If you've got 100 speeds, be in the 70 to 80 range. What you will find if you are just starting out, or if you are dealing with deficiencies, the wider your feet, the more intense the movement. It's not a speed thing. You're going to find it more comfortable with a more natural foot position about hip width apart, or start with your feet close in the center and see what you can tolerate. The mid to higher speed ranges are going to be smoother, less choppy, less destabilizing. That's what your slow speeds are about, and we'll get there. So to warm up, we're just going to stand with those knees slightly bent. You shouldn't feel it much above the collarbone. If you do, you're standing too tall. You can hear it in my voice. So bend the knees a little bit, and we're just going to do some pelvic tilts. So pull the bum forward, backward. We do a lot of sitting. We're maybe not as active this time of year. We're starting to slow down. Just get some movement. Do some little hulas. Shift your weight left or right. Just loosen up that core area for what we're going to do next, okay? Pelvic tilts are a very natural, easy thing to do if you're dealing with urinary incontinence or you just want to strengthen in that area. While you're doing this, practice some Kegels. So tilt forward, clench and hold, 2, 3, back, 2, 3. Or if you're comfortable and feel stable enough, you can do it while, just time it with your breathing or what feels comfortable. Okay? So 30 seconds to a minute. If at this point you're already feeling fatigued because you're dealing with some chronic issues, feel free to sit back down. Anytime standing on the machine, for those of you that are below baseline, we're going to build and progress from. The more you can bear weight, the more we contribute to bone density. Bone density isn't a setting, it isn't a speed, it isn't a time, it's bearing your weight. If you're targeting certain body parts, you do exercises related to those body parts. So for those of you that are dealing with fatigue and struggle with stability and strength, perhaps instead of standing, here's our first variation on a squat. We're going to start with a sit to stand. And I told you we're going to burn calories today because I do ramble and I have a few positions in the works. So we're going to start with those feet hip width apart. You want your legs supporting you at a good 90-degree angle. And we're just going to slowly stand up. And then we're going to slowly sit back down. Okay, that might be it for you. For the rest of you that think that's too easy, keep going. You know, do 3 or 4 of these. One of those functional things we do every day is get up and sit back down. So, you know, why not turn it into an exercise? Make these muscle groups stronger. You know, I'd love for you never to have to use your arms again to get up out of that recliner. Okay? So you can do that for a minute or 2. If you're not finding that terribly challenging, just wait. We're going to move to some real squats now. So, in the morning, keep it under 5 minutes total, everything we're doing today, although I'm rambling. So we're going to do about a 30-second to a minute warm-up. That might be a workout for many of you. For those of you that are able to bear weight, you can stand on the machine, no problem, 10 minutes. Start challenging yourself. You want to change the body, change what you're doing to it. So if you don't do squats regularly, I just want you going lower, like you're getting ready to sit in a chair. You should be in balance. Majority of the weight is on your heels. If you're feeling it through the knees and the shins at this point, you've shifted your weight forward, which makes it easier. Keep those heels planted and just hold still. Focus on a good technique, a good position before you start adding movement to it. And you should poop out pretty quick here. Okay, we're going to stand back up, take a little break, and let's do another one. Okay, I prefer starting in a non-moving fashion. So many of us are dealing with hypermobility, bad joints, arthritis, swelling, dynamic movement. Sometimes it's maybe a little bit more of a cardio effect, but I don't want you guys overdoing it, underdoing it. Focus on good technique, and the goal is to burn these big quads out. The more we can recruit and exercise those quads and those glutes by doing these simple exercises, that's what's going to burn the calories. Exercise isn't about how long you do it. It's pushing those body parts to fatigue. And these are just the easiest positions I can give you guys without making it a big elaborate routine. Another variation on that squat. Where's my ball? My ball. I hope everybody can see me okay. This is my rainbow ball. I have varying sizes. See, there's a little bit of the air is deflated. Many of us want to tone and tighten and strengthen the hips, the inner thighs, the knees. Many of you that have the hypermobility issues, you know, the knees are collapsing in on our squats and our technique's going out the window. Take this ball, and you might need to go with a narrower width, but you're just going to tuck it above the knees. See? And it kind of gives you more action in one move. So instead of having to do a separate exercise, we're going to add this to the squat that you've already been practicing so well. So another reason to start with minimal movement. So we're just going to go, and while we're standing here, these muscles are now also part of the equation, and almost everything is engaged. If you've got too much air in your ball, it'll feel like it's wanting to slip out all the time. That's the reason you deflate it a little bit. So now come up. Okay, should be fairly comfortable, and the ball's nice and tender. So many of you bruise easily or have swelling. I think you'll find this a nice fix, just as an add-on. One position. We're just practicing one very simple position with some variations here. Okay? Not bad. All right. Last little exercise I want to cover is a lunge. Many of you are dealing with surgery, dealing with one bad side. You know, maybe you've had a knee replacement on one side and you don't want to be using the machine. You know, there's all these gray areas. Can I use my machine for blah? There's so many great questions I have depending on you, your recovery, but you can bear weight and leverage your strengths. If you are dealing with below baseline issues, chronic issues, you're recovering from surgery, and if a squat is just too challenging, or where you're dealing with some surgery where you shouldn't be bearing your weight on the machine yet, you can work one side at a time. This is also really good for those of you that might be dealing with vertigo or instability. You know, get one leg on dry land and one leg on the machine. So for the leg on the machine, you want this nice and straight, like that table leg. This back leg is kind of more like your rudder. So instead of with your back leg, widen the distance between your feet. If you're straight in the line, you're going to be like you're on a balance beam and feel like you're falling over. So this one's just holding you still, and you can just come down. Your range of motion is going to be a little different on something like this than the squat, but there's no vibration to the head whatsoever. Okay, but you can still get some mass into that leg. And then, of course, if you're able, do the other side. Okay, and sometimes lunges are just a nice variation. Perhaps you are dealing with fatigue, or you've got an issue on one side, but you want to keep other things moving. You know, sometimes you just got to get creative in what body parts you can apply to the machine. Okay, so the very last push that I want to add, I'm going to get my ball again. I would say this routine, if you're doing it in the morning, is going to be a total, as I said, of 3 to 5 minutes. You should be fatiguing in about the 30-second to 1 minute mark per position. If you're not, and you're able to go for 10 minutes in your squat, which I highly doubt, make it more challenging. Don't be going just through the motions, okay? You got to sometimes, for your body type, your range of motion, your level of conditioning, you know whether you're working or not. So this one, we're just going to stand in a very, again, hip width apart, no more than that. We're going to bend a little bit deeper. And while we're going deeper, I want you to take a ball. If you want to make it harder, add some weight, a weighted ball, and push that out in front of you. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come back up. I would love to see you get a good 3 to 5 reps. I don't expect everybody to go as low as me. Some of you may go lower. Work within your range of motion and build from there. Okay, come back up. One more. Okay, kind of gives you something to focus on and you don't worry about your legs burning as much. Okay, you know, so really all we're using for equipment today is a ball that you can steal from your kids or your grandkids' room, the machine that you hopefully already have or at least considering, and a squat we basically, most of us know how to do. But some of the big challenges and why we don't necessarily see the results we're looking for and we get frustrated with ourselves is our technique isn't there. So don't make it this big, exotic, elaborate thing. Keep it very simple. You want your feet hip width apart. You want to ensure your knees are bent. The deeper you go, the harder it's going to be. And just hold still. You should burn out within about 30 seconds. Okay. I hope some of you are sweating. I hope that was fun. So thank you for listening to me ramble a little bit. As I said, for some of you that might be repetitive, but I get a lot of very generic questions. You know, what's the best thing for lymphedema? How long should I work out to lose weight? What setting is best for bone density? And a lot of these are certainly features and options available within your machines, but the difference between feel good and fitness is really the positions we're doing on the machine. A squat can be done in any movement style. So, you know, you've got to find for you, if you're dealing with a machine that just has one movement style, just mix up your speeds from week to week. You don't necessarily need to change the positions, but you can change your settings just to kind of keep your body in check and challenged and adapting to the changing speed. If you have a machine that has multiple different types of movement, I think you're still going to find oscillating the most challenging because it has the most amount of movement. But if you're dealing with a lateral style machine or you have pulsation, any of those combinations are really just gravy. You know, it's like asking me, okay, well, I'm going to do squats and I want to add weights. what's better, kettlebells or medicine balls? It really depends on your preference, and based on what you're dealing with, what your hurdles are, that's going to vary a little bit for everybody. What I'd also like to say with fitness, you guys have different challenges here in the community. That traditional weight loss isn't as realized as it is with traditional exercise and traditional bodies. But, I can say with every confidence in my experience of dealing with these conditions that I do see results. Is it just the vibration machine? Perhaps sometimes it is, but I think sometimes when you're making a conscious decision to make positive changes in your life, however little those changes may be, they're a step forward, not a step backwards. We tend to be open or receptive to other changes. I know when I'm getting into workout mode or I'm trying to bulk up for a show, I tend to be a little more conscious about those food choices, and maybe I have less potatoes and more salad or whatever. So I think sometimes it's just, when you're embracing good habits, it's a ripple effect in other areas. We tend to pay more attention to the self-care and some of the things that, for those of you that do enjoy the workout side and the intensity of it, you don't necessarily need to do other things to get the wellness aspects of this. The lymph, the circulation, the main things that I advocate in this group that any machine is going to give you. It's just getting on it and more often in short sessions is a better way to accomplish that. But there's so much more that these machines offer. And while you're doing your squats and lunges, like I was showing you today, you're still getting your lymph, your circulation. You're always getting balance because your body's always trying to keep itself stable. If you're standing on the machine, you're always contributing to bone density because you're bearing your weight. The weight loss, the muscle tone, the skin tone, that's when we start applying ourselves, getting into those squats. You can use your machines for massage to target the legs and tighten up the skin. But of course, we have to be able to get down on the machine and get back up to do some of that stuff. So that the squat, outside of burning calories and being the best way to do that, is also the most amazing way to improve that range of motion. The sit to stand I showed you, it's going to make you get down and, more importantly, back up off the ground a lot easier because you're going to have that leg strength and that stability to support those motions.